So now we have Adrian Long. I'm sure most of you know him. He's actually one of our aces. So he's going to talk to you about how you bridge the talent gap with citizen data scientists. So give an applause for Adrian.
Thank you, Angie. So thank you for joining me. I know it's the second last session of a long day, so really appreciate you joining me today. So just before I start, quick show of hands, how many of you are analysts in the room? Wow. And how many of you are data scientists? The Lone Ranger. 2. Thank you. So in today's presentation, I really want to cover off how you can actually bridge the talent gap by growing your own citizen data scientists. Consider this. How many of us would have thought that companies like Uber, Netflix, and Amazon could disrupt your entire industry in a heartbeat just by leveraging their data? In today's world, more and more companies are becoming increasingly data-driven. At the same time, there's a real shortage of skilled PhD statisticians like data scientists. It is my belief that citizen data scientists can effectively bridge that talent gap and are really critical to the growth and survival of new and iconic companies. So my name is Adrian Long and I've been an Alteryx user since 2014. I'm currently the practice manager at Datacom in the field of data science and AI. I've had a long career in analytics, in financial services, telecommunications, and consulting. Interestingly, I started off my career as a market analyst before becoming a finance and planning manager at AMP Capital. This led me to many other opportunities within large corporates to help them grow and transform their analytic teams. With products like Alteryx, essentially you can upskill teams of data analysts to perform sophisticated analytics similar to that of a data scientist. So with Alteryx, you can really do everything and solve business problems. To me, it's really the art of the possible. My own personal journey with Alteryx began quite a few years ago when I read one night at an Alteryx Inspire program in the US of people like Boston Consulting Group leveraging Alteryx technology to solve their business problem. And for those of you visiting California, I really highly encourage you to visit Alteryx head office. You can see the photo there. I took my family to Disneyland and I was just talking with some of the Alteryx people and they said, you know, you should come and see us since you're at Disneyland. I actually thought it was a joke, but the Alteryx head office is probably half an hour's drive from Disneyland, so please feel free to visit their head office as well. I've got a young child, young family, and a young wife, as you can see. So we spend a lot of time, you know, around the beaches and things like that. So, you know, it's a bit of fun. And yes, my child likes to play with animals. So today's presentation will be focused on 3 major areas. What's a data scientist anyway? Bridging that talent gap. And really, analytics as a team sport. You cannot do this alone or have any impact on your organization of significance. So, how many of you know what a data scientist is? Care to give it a stab? Yeah. So, essentially, data scientists are unicorns. And what that actually means is that they have deep capabilities in 4 major areas. They're very good at stats and numbers. They have deep domain expertise in the industry or sector that they work in. But more importantly, they're able to program and communicate complex concepts in a very simple, non-technical way. That's the reason why data scientists are paid so much money, because they can do the quant and then they can explain in very simple terms to people. So what exactly is a citizen data scientist? A citizen data scientist, according to Gartner, is a person who actually creates and modifies analytical models, which can be predictive or prescriptive in nature, but whose primary job function sits outside that of the realm of stats or analytics. Essentially, I best describe a citizen data scientist as a person who can stand in the middle of the business user and the PhD Dr. Machine Learning. So one of you might ask, hang on a minute, why don't I just hire a bunch of data scientists? It's much easier, isn't it? So according to Microsoft, there are 5 key steps in doing data science. The first of which is having a good understanding of the business. The second of which is actually extracting and aggregating data from source systems. This is followed on by modeling and actually deploying the model into the business and getting business acceptance. In my experience and in the experience of many others like me, nearly 70 to 80% of the effort is articulating what the business problem is before building your base table and aggregating data from the multiple source systems. It's painful and time consuming. So tools like Alteryx really enable the analysts to accelerate that journey and be able to augment the skills of your data scientists. So another reason why you can't just hire a team of PhD statisticians is that you go to your boss and say, you know what, this is going to cost $5 million. Show me the money. How many of you have watched this show? Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Couple people. So if there's a big takeaway today, please go home and watch the show, Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, where there's a scene in the, where he shows aged footballer asking his agent, Tom Cruise, to show him the money. And it's really a hilarious scene, but essentially this problem is really real in companies where you ask your boss to chip out millions of dollars and it's not going to even fly. So we have to have a pragmatic approach to approaching, to solving business issues and challenges. So the second part of my presentation is really about how do you bridge the talent gap. Tools like Alteryx enable people to deliver that continuum of simple to complex analytics. And what I mean by a continuum is that it's an entire end-to-end platform. There is no gap between each, simple to complex analytics. Instead, users or analysts upskill themselves as they get more and more confident with the platform. Simple analytics can be things like, I want to combine data from a couple of source systems to get a visual management report in Tableau or Power BI. Other examples of simple analytics could be, I need to combine a couple of points to simply deliver data externally to our partners. As you get more confident with the platform, you're able to perform more complex analytics. Things like single customer view, ingesting data from multiple source systems to actually help people understand what's going on in your business. You can also do more complex analytics like, what is the true cost to serve a customer across both digital and branch channels? And once you get more mature on the platform, you would definitely want to try and do more things like predictive analytics, the value of which is huge. If you could optimize pricing or even help predict customer churn, we are talking in the tens of millions of dollars of financial benefit here. So I think that's really the key takeaway that I want to give you. It's an end-to-end platform. And as you grow in your skills and in your journey, you would be able to deal with all these high value add activities. So I'd like to now switch gears and really talk through the 4 different personas in your company where you can actually develop to become a citizen data scientist. The first persona is that of a customer service staff. The second of which is a finance and sales analyst. And finally, the platform is flexible enough to accommodate the PhD statistician as well. So this scenario really talks to that of a person in customer service, taking calls, looking at tickets, trying to actually solve customer problems. But because he's working in a large organization with multiple systems, Essentially, they're switching between different screens all the time, looking at multiple reports. The boss is complaining, why is your average handling time per customer going up? Well, the answer is, we haven't had the money to invest in all your infrastructure and systems. Therefore, I have to look at 5 or 6 different screens, 5 or 6 different reports. So one night, the call center staff discovers that somebody had a similar problem in the US. Downloads the tool in Alteryx and goes, you know what, I know how to do a VLOOKUP in Excel. It discovers this website called Alteryx for Excel, and within 1 or 2 nights is effectively able to combine data from source systems and multiple reports themselves. Imagine this. This spreads through the whole organization, and productivity increases 2 to 3 times in the entire call center operations division. Now we are talking an order of magnitude improvement in cost efficiency through your organization. And it all started because somebody in the line of business got tired of looking at different screens and different reports. So just a quick show of hands, any finance analysts in the room? A couple? Great. So you can identify with this use case then. So every month, finance analysts in the budgeting forecasting area have to do their month end. So that involves extracting data from an Oracle system or some other ledger system, merge it with CRM data from a customer contact channel, pull out product information, and basically, they're in VLOOKUP hell. On top of that, they have to deliver commentary by day 10 or day 5 to the business unit. I mean, think about it for a minute. In today's world, we live in a world of Google and instant everything. How can we as a business be waiting 10 working days to know the financial position of our previous month? It's completely unacceptable. So one night, the finance analyst stumbles upon this course called Predictive Analytics for Business in Udacity. Remember, this is actually a finance analyst, not a skilled statistician or data scientist. So he automates the entire process, pulling data not just out of the Oracle ledger and merging it with the CRM system, but is able to also combine data from the product system. After automating his entire month-end process, he discovers that he or she can actually have a P&L on an hourly basis for the organization. The business essentially now relies on them to work out what's going on and instant real-time feedback on how the portfolio is performing. So it's really transformative in nature. But on top of that, the finance analyst takes it one step further. How do I further improve my forecast, my accuracy of my budgeting forecast? So by doing this predictive course, predictive analytics for Udacity, he's able to apply ARIMA, ETS, and sophisticated quant modeling to it. These are all tools that are pre-built in the Alteryx platform, and so delivers hundreds of millions of dollars of cost savings to the organization. The third persona is that of a sales analyst. How many sales analysts in the room? Anyone supports sales or marketing operations? A couple of people? Great. So you can identify with this where essentially you're trying to help your sales managers convert leads and prospect more efficiently. But to do that, you have to pull data out of multiple CRM systems, merge it with different source systems, and it's just getting hard. So imagine this as a sales or marketing analyst. You discover Alteryx, and essentially you automated the entire process for modeling and looking at your lead conversion. But you decide to take it one step further. You start scraping your competitor's website and you know exactly what price all your competitors are pricing on a real-time basis. In addition, you actually download ABS statistics and you can effectively work out the market share and penetration rate of your entire customer base straight at once. So what that actually does is your sales guy is now going exactly to where you think is the maximum opportunity for him to close, instead of him running around blind. So once again, this is the sort of transformative impact that analytics can have. So for the skilled PhD statistician, we'll call him Dr. Machine Learning in the room. You go, what is the purpose of the analytics platform like Alteryx? Well, essentially, even if you're a unicorn, it's hard work. You have to build, maintain the model. You've got to keep monitoring the model in case things change in the business. If you want to build new features, you've got to build it again, and it's just difficult, right? But if you spend time to upskill the data analyst to understand more, essentially the data analyst can help you build additional features with Alteryx, right? Because it's a code-free and code-friendly platform. So the value is that the citizen data scientist gets to learn what modeling is about, but at the same time is able to help Dr. Machine Learning scale the outcome. So in this way, everybody wins because it's a whole team effort together to deliver and monitor models. So finally, today's topic will cover off analytics as a team sport. I think it's really critical for anyone starting their analytics journey to work together with the business to set a goal. Analytics doesn't sit in a vacuum or silo. It sits there to actually serve business outcomes. Take, for example, some of these mission statements where you really want to do things like drive the best customer experience. And that's why you invest in data science and AI. You do not invest in data science and AI just for itself. It does nothing by itself. You do it to serve a business outcome. Or perhaps you want to actually improve operational excellence in your business because you want to embed data-driven decisions not just at the senior level, but you want to embed it at every level of the organization. That's where the value is. Because the CEO telling his GMs to do one thing is a very different experience to every layer of the organization pushing in the same way with data. The third example is you want to deliver self-service. I would give you this simple analogy. How many of you use Microsoft Word and Excel here? Imagine if you had to go to a central team every time you wanted to use Microsoft Word because you didn't have Microsoft Word installed on your laptop. It sounds absurd, but this is exactly what's happening in the business. How can you always have to rely on a central BI team to give you what you need every time? To me, Alteryx is essentially Microsoft Office for analysts and data workers, even more broadly. So I hope that's a little bit of thinking and thought-provoking for each and every one of you in the room, because it's really where the market's going. And it reminds me of the day where initially we had to do video conferencing in a room because we couldn't move things around. And look at us today. We all carry different phones and iPhones, and anyone can do video conferencing anytime they want. They don't have to be locked in and go to a room. I think it's really important as well to cover the 3 pillars, because often I see people get lost in just the technical elements. So you got to focus on the people side, the process, as well as the technology. From the people perspective, you can see when you show or introduce new technology into the business, people go, oh, I don't want to learn it, or it's too hard, or why would I want to learn this? The reality is most people are afraid of changing because it's just easy to adopt the status quo. Some don't want to change because they go, what happens if you automate my job? Will I still be around? So that's the real question that we have to stare into. And my answer to them is very simple. With tools like Alteryx, they are actually easy enough to learn. And you can upskill yourself so you can add more value to your organization and your own personal career. So you can be on the defensive or you can be on the offensive, right? And future-proof your own careers. It is also really critical to get senior management to walk the floor. What I've seen is people don't actually read PowerPoint decks. They look at what their senior executives do. And if their senior executives start walking the floor and start using the technology themselves, you can see it sort of trickles through the entire organization. From a process perspective, it's really important to not get lost in the detail. Really focus on what is the customer pain point, not the internal customer. I'm talking about a real life customer externally. I've seen places where they get so twisted in their own processes, measuring efficiency among themselves, they've forgotten that it's actually about the external customer. Tools like Alteryx allow you to essentially cut through this layer very quickly and embed more efficient business processes. Finally, the tools and technologies. These are some of the favorite tools and technologies that I've used, and I highly recommend them. Alteryx is part of the platform. For those of you on the cloud, you can use both AWS and Azure, but Alteryx also works in an on-prem scenario as well. So I'd like to now switch gears and really talk about real-life examples and business use cases, because I'm really passionate about some of this stuff. So from a customer experience, I know every company that I've been to or seen talks about customer experience. But the first question I always ask them is, do you know how your customers are actually behaving? Not transacting. I talk about behaving, as in they go to your website, how do they behave? Have you merged that data with your offline physical channels? And I can tell you, 9 out of 10 companies will go, oh, it's all getting too hard. But that's exactly where the value is. You need to understand your customer, how he's behaving on both your own website and your own physical distribution channels. Self-serve analytics, once again, I'm sure everyone here has Microsoft Office installed on their laptops, but essentially, every single user should have Alteryx installed on their desktops so they can actually use it without going through a central team. Business processes, they're often really fragmented. The larger the corporate, the more fragmented the business process is. And this is typically a result of acquisitions and mergers and the lack of system consolidation. So Alteryx can be used really strategically at a very low cost to help streamline these business processes and even create new ones. I often hear so many times where it says, it costs $10 million to fix this problem in the system. Alteryx can actually be used to ingest data from multiple areas and streamline the business process for you. Pricing. This is really important as well, because a lot of people think of reporting as just an additional cost to the business. The fact that you can use tools like Alteryx to optimize pricing to your end customer so that it's no longer one size fits all, essentially would deliver millions of dollars of financial benefit to your company. Me and my team back in the day at Amasim did exactly that, where we've delivered millions of dollars with very few analysts. 2 or 3 of us did it. Finally, finance, performance, and audit. As most organizations go, we have to actually look at how we do our financial audit. Alteryx offers the ability to sample not just 1% of your transactions, but 100% of your transactions. That delivers a step change in reducing the risk for your organization. Finally, delivering data externally to your partners. All companies don't exist by themselves. They don't exist in a vacuum. You have to interact with suppliers, consumers, customers. Alteryx can be used to deliver data directly to your external consumers as well. So I hope this has given you a flavor of what is possible with the technology and really help you open up your mind onto the possibilities instead of just focusing on a narrow view of, just doing a bit of reporting. In any organization, it's important that you got to set up user groups monthly. This is not really based around the organizational structure, but the whole purpose is to get different teams together cross-functionally. Most important thing, take away from all of this, the food and drink, guys. Gotta bring the beer, bring the food, bring the pizza. Bring along corporate swag, because that's often useful as well to get people to attend. More importantly, and a little more subtle approach would be to invite senior executives to actually walk the floor. Promote networking opportunities, because ultimately that is what's required. When juniors see that general managers or more senior people are walking the floor, they don't feel as threatened, and they are able to talk to them and converse and really see where each person wants to go. Run regular hackathons. I love hackathons simply because it actually solves a business problem in a very, very tight time frame. Even though it might be a minimum viable product, it's actually good enough to get things going. It's the whole concept of how do you actually build effective teams across the organization. This is not an IT initiative, this is a business initiative where you can get product people together, UI, UX people together, app developers together to deliver a strategic outcome quickly. Really empower and enable people in your organization who are passionate about delivering business outcomes. The Alteryx ACE program, I would best describe it as we are ordinary people, we're not special, but we deliver extraordinary outcomes. Simply by engaging with the community, understanding, learning from others, as well as giving back to the community. So that was a photo of the Alteryx ACEs in 2019. And I highly recommend you to look at some of this material that's available. Upskill not just your teams, but also yourself. A lot of this material is free. Join the Alteryx community. If there's one thing I take away from today's presentation, log on to Alteryx community, join the community. You'll find so many different like-minded people. If you want to improve your skills, people learn in different ways. You might want to focus on things like the weekly challenges, or even do product certification. For those of you into more advanced analytics like predictive and optimization and segmentation, I highly recommend you to do this course, the Udacity Predictive Analytics for Business course. It's a 3-month course, and it's really, really useful because the instructors don't just teach you a theoretical framework. These are actual practitioners in industry showing you how they've used the product to actually solve different customer issues and challenges. Once you're done with the course, you might want to do things like the Coursera course, Structuring Machine Learning. And it's a really good introduction to machine learning and also highlights all the gotchas when you're sampling data. After you're done with that, you might want to do more advanced certifications like Deep Learning and the Microsoft Data Science course. But once again, I say the first thing you should do is enroll for the Alteryx community and look up things like the weekly challenges and even the YouTube videos. Your boss might ask you, I'm not paying you all this money to look at YouTube every day, but essentially you can say, I'm actually trying to upskill myself so I can deliver value into the business. So really focus on leveraging the latest tools and technologies. I'm well aware that most organizations can't or will not have full cloud native platforms. The fact that you can use Alteryx to bridge the gap in both cloud and on-prem platforms is really, really helpful. It's agnostic to where your data sits. And your data could be sitting in a database, a spreadsheet, a REST API call, an XML table, a log file. Alteryx is really agnostic to all that. All you need to do is learn how to use the tool, and after a while you realize it's sort of like a logical thinking flow, very similar to Microsoft Visio. So finally, I'll leave you with this point. Analytics doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's really a team sport, and it's really a social activity. As a leader, it's really important to not just push your people to do analytics, but you have to recognize and celebrate success. Involve senior leaders with this as well. Simplify and democratize the opportunity. Imagine this, there's one data scientist in the room with so many data analysts.